Hello out there to my many friends and also to my many illustrious enemies. Once again, this is another episode of Roosevelt Sounds Off, and this is Roosevelt Sounds Off Part 26. And as many of you all know who have been following me over the last one, that I have been in a series entitled Stupid Traditions. And I completed Stupid Traditions Part 1 on Saturday. But I need to bring you something else right now, and I'm going to pick the series up a little bit later. I want to bring you my perspective on what is going on right now in South Carolina. As many of you all know, if you've been watching the news, that South Carolina deputy in Columbia, South Carolina, who works for the Sheriff's Department, Officer Deputy Ben Fields, was accused of, no, not accused, I was about to be wrong, caught on videotape with cell phone video overturning a 16-year-old girl in her chair in Spring Valley High School in Columbia, South Carolina. And the other day, I think it was like yesterday, that the sheriff, Leon Lott, in a news conference announced that the deputy, Ben Fields, was going to be fired. And you know what I have to say about that? I think South Carolina has shown us the way. I think that they need to deal with all police officers who are accused of misconduct just like this. I wish they would catch on here in Chicago, but it seems like Chicago police officers could go and, force some young girls to have sex with them or rape people, take advantage of old people, kill 2 or 3 other people, and yet still remain on the job. So I guess Chicago hasn't caught on yet. But some people are trying to say, and I think this also goes along with the blaming the victim thing, that the young girl, because the whole story basically is, because I need to start from the beginning, is that she had the 16-year-old girl who's right now unidentified, had her cell phone out in class, and they said it was against the rules. And the teacher told her to put the cell phone away, and I guess she didn't because she was waiting on a call. Now, allegedly, they say that she was waiting on a call from her counselor. Because, and that's what I always try to tell everybody about police, is that police, they will hurt and abuse you, maybe even kill you, no matter what kind of situation that you're in. This girl was in a bad situation because, for many of y'all who don't know, she lost her mother in January, and then she had to go and stay with her grandmother. Her grandmother passed away in June, so she's in foster care. So this girl probably had a whole lot of issues and a whole lot of things going through her mind. But, this police officer and the teachers and authorities didn't care about none of that. But I digress. Let me get back to the story. That they told her to put the cell phone away in class, and that, I guess that she wouldn't, because she was waiting on a call allegedly from her counselor. And so the teacher asked her to leave, and I guess that she refused to leave. And so they called in somebody else who asked her to leave. She still refused to leave. So they called in this police officer, and what he did, is just like take her and throw her out of the chair, or take the whole desk and turn it over with her in it. And then when another girl, I believe her name is Nia Kinney, decided to try to come and stand up for this girl, she was put under arrest too. Under what charge, I do not know, because it's not illegal to stand up against police brutality, especially if you see a friend of yours being taken advantage of, because I know I would probably stand up for anybody in that kind of situation that I saw, no matter what would happen. And both of them are basically considered to be criminals now, because both of them were arrested. The unidentified girl was arrested for a charge. This was a stupid charge of disruption in a school class, or some type of stupid charge, man-made charge they came up with. That's what Stupid Traditions is all about. And I'm pretty sure some of this is going to tie into some of that, because the reason why we have some of these laws in this country is because why? Stupid man-made traditions, or IO or IE or whatever, stupid man-made laws. And I think now maybe she should have got off the cell phone or shouldn't have had a cell phone in class, period. Because I know, looking at it from the other side, I know that a whole lot of people, children, even as well as adults, can be completely rude when it comes down to cell phone use. I mean, case in point, and this is a grown woman who's older than I am. Because at the time, I'm like 39 or something. And this woman is something that's like 49 or 50. We're, I meet her at her home and stuff. I thought we were supposed to be talking, getting a chance to know each other. But she stays on the phone like 2 or 3 times and stuff during the whole time. And then when we go on a second date, she stays on the phone almost the whole time that we're on the date. And it was very irritating. And she told a friend of mine the main reason why she did it is because she knew it would bother me. And I was always taught, especially if you're in school, especially in church or in a meeting or even on a date, you're supposed to be concentrating on what it is that you're trying to do or accomplish, not spending so much time with your phone. I mean, so even adults can be completely rude with it. I mean, I'm to the point now, if I'm on a date and everything with a young lady and she gets on her phone and stays on the phone like, for minutes and minutes at a time, that might be a first date, but I bet you there won't be another. Because it's just rude, and I refuse to be surrounded at 41 years old. God bless me, I'll be 42 in December. And almost 42 years old with rude, stupid, and insensitive people. Okay? But yet, on the other hand, I don't care what the girl was doing. That officer, Ben Fields, had no business coming through and throwing her out of a chair like that. The girl could have got a concussion, could have broken something, or anything. And this cop, he has a reputation of this kind of behavior. They even had a nickname for him in the school, which was Officer Slam, and some other kids called him Hulk Hogan, because his reputation preceded him. Which, this is what I talk about all the time when it comes down to police or policing. Many times that, you have higher ranking people in the police departments like sergeants or lieutenants, captains, or whoever, who know about certain bad behavior of their officers, because this particular officer, he actually was sued at one time, and he was also allegedly accused of attacking a boy who had autism. They knew about all of these things. They knew about all of this stuff, but they still let this officer stay on duty. And the worst part is they let him in school amongst children. This is the kind of person who doesn't need to be on the street. So I think the sheriff, Leon Lott, made a good move in firing him. And some people are trying to say that maybe the whole thing was racially promoted or anything, because they're trying to do an investigation now to see if her civil rights were violated. But the thing is, they said that just like he's done black children, they said he's done a couple of white kids like this too. And the sheriff is up there saying, well, how could it be racial when he's been dating a African-American woman for a long time now? Like that's supposed to be anything. As many white men who will date a black woman, but yet still call you the N-word at the end of the day. So no, black ladies, just because you are with a white man or dating a white man or even married to a white man and you're fucking them, pardon me for using that word, but I just have to in this instance, that doesn't mean that they're not going to call you the N-word whenever they get upset. I know this not from personal experience necessarily, but personal experience through a friend of mine who I knew, who I sung in the choir with at church. She was married to a man who was white. In every single opportunity that this guy could, anytime they would get into an argument, that's the first thing he would call her as the N-word. So that doesn't mean anything just because you are married to them, just because you're dating them, just because you're fucking them, just because you're doing any kind of a thing, that this guy is not racist. What does that mean? It was many, if anybody knows anything about history, it was many slaveholders who were having affairs and everything and sex with the black slaves, but they still had or still masters over their slave plantations. It was alleged, which I really believe that's true, like people like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, I mean, they might have had wives and married and everything, but many of them had affairs with black people or black women. So what does that mean? In George Washington and all of them and stuff, they still had slaves and black servants. So what does that mean? That just because somebody is going with and has been going with an African American woman for a long time, that he's not racist? That doesn't mean anything to me. That doesn't even move me. This guy threw, this was not just a grown, if it was a grown man, I could halfway see it. Maybe if it was a grown woman, I could halfway see it. But this is a 60-year-old child who has been through hell almost for this last year. Anytime you could lose your mother and grandmother at one time in 1 year, and she was also new to the school district, and they said that she was pretty quiet. She didn't cause any kind of problem or bother anybody. Because you don't know what is going on. You officers out there just do and say almost any kind of a thing to anybody just because you know you can get away with it. You don't know what that person is dealing with. And that's the problem in policing. And that's how come many times I don't see police almost as being human. Because they're only concerned with one thing. The fact is, if they stop you for something, the only concern is maybe you broke the law. Or maybe they're arresting you for doing something. And that's all that they have on their mind. They can rattle off the law just like that. That's all I see them as, is people who can just rattle off the law. But not caring about, not having any empathy for what people out there could be going through. It's just a lack of empathy and sympathy I see amongst police. And people always say that police officers are supposed to be what is called peace officers. That means you're supposed to be able to come into a situation and make a situation better. You're not supposed to come into a situation and make it 1,010 times worse than what it already was. This officer, Ben Fields, made the situation 110 times worse. And if this was my family member, or if this was my daughter, because I do have a goddaughter, let's just say I would be very, very angry. And it would be a very sad day for the police department. Let me put it like that. Because just like you police officers can stand up and defend yourselves, when you think that something has happened to you or somebody in your family, I think us as citizens need to start standing up and defend ourselves and take up for ourselves as well whenever you all hurt and brutalize us or members of our families. Now, I wouldn't have put up with it. I mean, I would have hunted him down. And I just hope that whoever is over her, whether it's a guardian or whoever, that they sue the pants, first of all, off of the school district, because it was the teachers and stuff who called in this officer, and sue the pants off of the sheriff's department for causing this problem. Now you got a girl who's in jail, possibly now she's out on bail, facing charges. And I think that if Columbia, South Carolina really wanted to do the right thing, they need to drop and dismiss all charges against this girl. Because basically, she was only doing what teenagers do. I think even though it might be sometimes inconvenient, even though a whole lot of us might consider it to be rude, this is just what teenagers do. And I mean, I'm guilty in everything of it myself. I mean, a whole lot of us, we live through our phones, through our iPads, through our tablets, because we live on social media. Golly, I mean, I'm doing something for social media right now, because as many of you, you know, when this is uploaded, who's going to see this on YouTube, many of my Facebook friends are going to see this video, because I always share my video with my Facebook page. So as many of you all who are going to be watching this video. So teenagers, and let's just see us as just people and human beings, or it just seems like we're attached to our devices and attached to social media. And especially teenagers. I mean, teenagers live by that thing. I mean, they're only being normal kids. And right now, I'm reminded of a small passage of scripture where it says in God's word that you have to remember from where you come from. How many times has Officer Ben Fields might have made a mistake when he was a teenager? How many times you have to think, not only Ben Fields, but every single officer out there, how many times have you made a mistake? Even still, some of you still continue on making mistakes. How many times have you did something wrong, especially when you were younger? How many times have you all been defiant or rebellious? I think many of you have. I mean, but you learned. I mean, you moved on from your mistake. Now that you're grown, you begin to see it. I mean, because, I know I made plenty of mistakes and everything and kind of was rebellious when I was young. But of course, that was when I was young and I moved on and I learned. Because it's like what the scripture says, that when you are a child, you might act and think as a child and you understand as a child. But when you grow up and become a man, you put away childish things. But this is what this is what sometimes young kids do. And I don't think that a girl deserves to be thrown out of a chair just for only doing something normal that children do. And even as far as being defiant goes, that is just part of growing up. Just like all of us had to learn, she has to learn too as well. And sometimes it just seems like in schools, they don't take all of this into account. They're just so anxious, especially when you do something wrong, just to punish and suspend. And it seems like there are studies and statistics that say that more black and Latin children are suspended from schools than white children. They say white children who might do some of the same things as black and Latino children, it's like people turn a blind eye to it. They're only looked at as being innocent. But if a black person does something, even if it's a teenager or a child, they're looked at as being much more aggressive or much more threatening. These are studies that prove this. That is for many of y'all who want to study and just look it up. I mean, because even when I was in school, I mean, I was threatened. It was 34 years since this incident happened to me. But I still remember it as clearly and as vividly as if it happened a second ago. That I made a statement. I didn't think that the statement was bad or harmful in being a child, to my second grade teacher at the time, and she accused me of being fresh. I didn't think I was being fresh. But like I said, that's what stupid traditions is all about. It's man's stupid way of thinking. Man's stupid interpretations. This is how she took it. But in my heart, no, I did not mean to be smart. I did not mean to be fresh. And just for allegedly being fresh, I mean, they threatened to suspend me from school, told my parents, and my father ended up giving me a whooping because they talked about suspending me for a day. I mean, I got a whooping, and I've been analyzing this and breaking this down for almost 34 years and still really do not know what I completely did wrong. Because back then, it just seems like any adult could just say you did or said almost anything and you would get in trouble for it. And I think that this is something we need to end, these stupid man-made ways and stupid man-made traditions. And that's what this whole series that I'm teaching is all about. Just because people think something or man interprets something a certain way does not always mean that it's correct. I mean, it seems like they're just so anxious just to suspend kids when I don't think suspending really does anything. I think that it's something that more that needs to happen in these schools. You need to sit down, I think, if you're an school teacher or an administrator, and actually maybe find out what the children who are under you are going through. Because if you have to listen to the stories of what some children have to go through every single day in the home, out on the street, in church, or wherever, you'd be surprised. I don't think that you should punish a child or just keep punishing when a child or just people in general could already be going through hell enough. I don't think that you should have to go through hell again. All because you quote unquote made a mistake or made a misjudgment. This man's stupid punishment is stupid interpretation. So in closing, I am glad that Officer Benfield was fired. And I'm hoping that nobody or no sheriff's department, no police department in this nation ever picks him up or that he never gets a job again. And most of all, I'm hoping that his black girlfriend drops him. Yes. So once again, this is Roosevelt. Roosevelt sounds off. Be sure to comment and subscribe. Peace and blessings to all.